Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make new jazz. You will get the project files for free. Just go to BusyWorksBeats.com/FL Studio. I saw Ed Talenti trying to make new jazz, and I remember when I first learned new jazz, it was like complicated to wrap my head around it. So in this video, I'm going to guide you guys through the components of new jazz, the music theory behind it, the jazz theory, and show you guys how to make it unique for your own style too. So shout out to Lunchbox. I saved so many Lunchbox songs in my playlist. It's crazy. Shout out to Produced by Amir. Okay, and what we're gonna do is start with the drums. So in the latest Lunchbox song I'm referencing, the snare is in a very specific spot. So we're using a clap sample. You guys will get all the project files for free. Okay, this is based on a Roland TR 808 clap. And basically we're gonna put it on the 3, the 5, okay, which is such a random thing, but they made it work. So turn your metronome on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we're gonna make it play tresillo, which is ta, 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 ta. So 1, 2, 3, tresillo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's called tresillo, tresillo. So the hi-hats are gonna go all the way through like this. I think technically it's what, 16th notes, if I'm not mistaken. Very different bounce on that clap, and then we're going to use the 808. We're going to do tresillo, but the 808 is going to go on the 1 and the 4. So it's one, turn the metronome on, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do tresillo from the 4. Tresillo. All right, so now let's do the chords. We're gonna get a little geeky with the music theory here, so bear with me. If you guys want the beginner language and the step-by-step, go to BusyWorksBeats.com/music theory essentials, because I explain it much more in depth. I don't have time in these videos to do all that. But we're gonna do a 2-5-1 chord progression. So let's do 2. Now we're using the C major scales reference here. So DFACE makes what's called a minor 9th chord. Okay, then we're going to move into what's called the dominant chord, but we're going to use what's called the 9th extension of the dominant chord. It sounds more complicated than what it is. Basically, we're just starting at G, skipping every other note in the scale to create a 9th chord. That sounds whatever now, but I'm going to show you guys a trick to make it sound fire. And then let's go to the advanced tab. Let's go to major 9th chord. So we're doing D minor 9, dominant 9th, and then major 9th. And again, it sounds whatever now, but I'm going to show you guys how to transform it. Okay, so let's take this over. Let's pull it over. And what we're going to do is use what's called a secondary dominant chord to go out of key on purpose. So we're going to go to the key of A natural minor, which is the relative minor of C major. Again, if this sounds like a Chinese language or a foreign language, I will teach you guys step by step. Look at music theory essentials. That's our foundation. And then move into music theory magic for more of these advanced techniques. So here we're going to move into the relative scale, which is the A natural minor scale. If we start in C major, we're moving to the A natural minor scale. It's called the relative minor. So long story shorter, we're going to take this dominant chord and pull it to the 5th of A, which is 7 notes up from A. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That creates the perfect 5th. We're going to keep our dominant chord starting at that point. So here's what it sounds like without the next technique we're about to move into. So it sounds very bland and like old school. What we're going to do is make this R&B-ified. We're going to take the perfect 5th and the 9th, which is 7 semitones away from each other, hit shift up. Okay, and now this is going to make it sound more R&B. Now what I want to do though for that first dominant chord, we're going to pull this down 6 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is called in jazz theory a tritone substitution. So we've applied so much of jazz theory in a short amount of time. 1 is a tritone substitution. 2 is the 9th extensions that we're using. 3, we're using a 2-5-1. 4 is that we've created an altered chord. So we did 4 jazz techniques in the first 3 chords. And then we used secondary dominants on the second half to move out of key on purpose. So that's 5 jazz techniques in 1 simple chord progression. We're about to do another technique. Okay, so here's the technique I want to show you guys. It's FL Studio exclusive so far. We want to go from D down 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is called intervallic resolution for those who want to learn the terms. And what we're going to do is go from D to G. Now, before we do the next technique, I'm going to double click here and then turn on what's called a slide note. So now all of these notes will slide to this note over this amount of time. So we could do the same thing over here. We're going to take the top note, count down 7, we get E. Okay, now from here, we're going to slide all of the notes to this point. Now let's say we don't want all the notes to slide to that point. We can double click on a note here. We need to change what's called the MIDI channel, or the color in this case, to 9. Change it, make sure the colors match and they're on the same MIDI channel. We're going to do the same thing over here. I learned this from Synthet. Shout out to Synthet on YouTube. Okay, switch this to 9. So now only the notes that are the same color will slide to each other in this case. Okay, so now we can hit shift up and down to transform the key, transpose the key. Let's take off some of these effects real quick. Just shorten up this hi-hat a little bit. Okay, so to add bounce to this track is right now super quantized. Let's go to the hi-hat, go to your wrench tool, turn up time shift. All right, so at this point, we're going to give the 808 notes. So this is where we have to go back to the music theory and start to match the chords with our 808. For now, I'm just going to go by ear because I don't want to like make this super confusing for beginners. But we're going to move the 808 to its own pattern here. And we may need to change the notes over time. They're not going to play the same exact notes every time. If you struggle with hearing the 808, pull it up an octave and you'll be able to hear the tonality of the 808. Let's pull it up even higher. So see how my ear wants to keep hearing more notes? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. So let's click here and make unique. Now we have that same pattern. We're going to change out those notes. Okay, let's make this unique again. So it's a new pattern again. Then I want to go, dun. Just want to go like a little. Okay, so again, you guys can create your own pattern. There's no like right or wrong way. We're going to highlight these, hit Control G to group all those patterns, double click and hit Control down to pull it back down an octave or 2. It's a little hard to hear. Let's see here. This is like really low. So I've noticed in their mixes, the claps and the hi-hats are not very loud. So if I ever want to change the key, I'm going to highlight both of these. You can group these together, hitting Control G. The reason I would do that as a final step is over here on the pattern side, you can right click and transpose all the MIDI notes. So let's raise this up 3 semitones. Positive values raise the key, negative values pull it down. So now we're going to mess with the BPM, slow it down a little bit. Okay, so I have my keyboard plugged up so we can add more leads in here, but you guys can add leads from any plugin that you like, whether it's GMS, Morphine, Toxic, Biohazard, Citrus, Sakura, whatever your favorite plugin is. At this point, there's no rules for like the extra sounds you add. So let's kind of build on top of this. And again, you guys will get the project files for free, so don't try to memorize like every little thing. So I'm just gonna kind of freestyle this. I'm gonna loop it so in case I mess up. And I'll show you guys a technique that from leg day that we'll show you guys. I'm referencing like one of his latest, Lunchbox's latest songs. Okay, so let's add. So I'm just kind of doing random stuff here. Doing random stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it. We're just staying in scale there. Now what we'll do is create a melody group, and from here I'm going to add Grosbeat. I've noticed, at least in the latest song, I'm pretty sure he added vocals too, so vocals are a key part to this genre too. So without vocals you're missing an entire instrument, so don't overly produce here. We're going to add what's called a gate using Grosbeat. We're going to group our sounds in here. And this is going to add some of that subconscious movement. So I'm going to add more instruments and combine it to that gate. So I'm just thinking, I'm just playing on my keyboard, different ideas. Okay, so again, all we're doing is just staying in scale. If anything, we're using glissando to be very R&B. So when you pitch slide from one note to the note above. Okay, so again, all this sounds very upfront, but when we group it into the gate, it will be more tucked to the back. Also, we can control the volume from the fader. Right click, route to this track only. So now it's going to that gate from Grosbeat. And that's how we add some of that subconscious movement to the track. Find like a string or some kind of vocal sounding thing. So I'm going to add like a little flute phrase here. Chord. Again, you can't really get this in plugins. I mean, you could. So there's like a lot going on. Wondering, I'm using a Korg Kronos, one of the greatest keyboards. If I had to pick one keyboard, that would be the keyboard. I have a lot of synths, and that is the craziest synth I've heard. Okay, let's route it to that melody group. Let's add a little reverb too before Grosbeat, so that way it has a little bit of a tail. We could use where's it at? Valhalla Vintage Verb. You guys can use Lux Verb. There's no like secret reverb to use. Actually, let's use the Steven Slate stuff because I forgot I'm subscribed. Where's it at? Verb, Sweet Classics. This has some really good impulse responses. Made by, I think, Liquid Sonics, modeled after the Berkasti M7 reverb. All right, so now we have it open. Also, I love that they have a chorus button for the reverb. Let's mix the dry wet level so it's not all reverb. Let's tug it down so it's not. Okay, so at this point, you're just pushing the 808s. I'll give you guys a quick little master chain, but this is not how to master though. Let's do Fruity Wave Shaper. Where is it? Fruity Wave Shaper. Here we go. It's that soft clipper. I feel like we're pushing the 808 way too hard. All right, let me up the buffer length so we could actually not hear clicks and pops. Seeing how low we could push the 808. I think this might be too low of an octave. Try reverb after gross beat to elongate the chop. Never mind, I like it before. Let's try this new plugin called Fusion. I really want to hear what it sounds like on a group of melodies here. This is by Prototype Audio. Let's hear what this sounds like combined with the reverb and the gross beat gate on it. So again, this is by Prototype Audio. It basically is a multi-band saturator. let's try different gate speeds here. One last layer here. So just a little filler synths, just so it has a different vibe all the way throughout. So that one I'm not going to gate. So that's how you do it. Again, shout out to Lunchbox. I have so many Lunchbox songs saved in my playlist. It's crazy. Probably 20 plus, maybe even 30. And shout out, produced by Amir. Shout out to everybody who's behind this movement. Awesome, awesome sound. All right, guys, get this project file for free. Go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Peace out, guys.